So, we are doing an armor party with Crate Clan today, and I am here going to, I've been asked a couple of different times this week on how to make, number one, male vests, and how to make female vests. And there's a lot of different designs and the overall stitches, processes of how to make it and whatnot. Right now we're going to be working with a cloth vest. So, the very first thing, let me see, I can't see if, okay, we've got them in. So the first thing we want to do is get the overall shoulder measurement here. And so I'm measuring at 17 inches. So I'm going to note that down. And let me, real quick, show you my... So I draw that basic shape. So you've got your neck hole and your two armholes, and then the body of your vest. I'm going to make notations on this, and I'll show you where all those notations go. So we've got 17 across. That's a good question. Hey, cool. There. And then we're going to go from where that outside seam was into the neck. So we're going to figure that out. We got 6 inches there. They should be pretty much uniform. We'll make sure we got a 6 inch. Bring your arm out to the side, and then go from the top down to on his t-shirt about an inch below where that t-shirt is. And so for him, you're looking at about 11.5. So I make that 11.5. And then we're going to figure out from the center line. We could go all the way across and then divide it, but might as well bring your arm back up. We're going to go from the center line out to the outside seam line, like of where his pants on his jeans are, right up and down up to there. And that's 12. So we got a 12. And I do that at the belly as well. Not too bad. Only 1 extra inch. So we got 13 there. And then I'm going to get from the top seam next to the neck down, and this depends on how long you want the vest. Most of the time I make them longer, and then we can trim them up. So I'm going to bring them all the way down to the belt line. So we're at about 24.5 overall. So let me show you that. So I made these notations. So we've got across the width of the shoulders, 6 inches on either side. From the top down to below his armpit, we want 11.5. 12 inches from the center line over to the outside edge. At his belly, 13 inches. And then the overall height, we're going to go 24.5. So now, I'm going to translate that into a usable pattern. I don't know if my holder's going to hold this well enough, or if the phone's going to fall. If it falls, bear with me. Okay, so I've got the paper here. We've got a nice flat edge. So we're going to basically build it off of that. So you've got your flat. I'm going to start up here. Get the overall width down to 24.5. And then from here, we're going to come in half of 17. So we're going to be at what? 8.5. And then I also noticed on him his neck had a drop. So I'm going to actually add that, and just from experience I'm thinking it's probably about an inch and a half. So about that angle is the overall shape of that shoulder. And then from, again, 8.5, I'm going to come up that line 6 inches. And we know that's going to be where his neck is. And that's one measurement that I will add after the fact. Easier to do it with the material or the pattern to get the neck size later. Then we're going to drop, so from this spot here, from that corner we want to drop down 11.5 inches. So, and come out 8.5. So I draw a line 8.5. And then from about that same spot is where we wanted to come out 12 inches to the side. So we've got 12, and then down about where his belly was, we're at about 13. So we connect these two, we've got a side, and then this is going to be where the armhole goes. So you want to actually make it not super drastic and square, or else this is going to fold weird, and you don't want to come out, you know, too sharp on the angle. You want to do a slight curvature to it. Now, this is where we're going to add seam allowance to it. So first off, we want to make sure that we add at least 1/2 inch of seam allowance along the outside edge of that shoulder seam. We want to add an extra 1/2 inch to the top and to the sides, but we also want to worry about how we're going to close at the sides. Some people will sew them up, some people will do Velcro, some people do zippers. So the big question for Adam is
Velcro.
Velcro. So Velcro, industrial Velcro is 2 inches. So we're going to give it at least 2 inches to have that overlap. But then from 2 inches, we also want 1 inch of seam allowance so we can actually fold it. So we're at 2.5 inches past the edge. And we're off there. Now, we know, since our bodies are not perfectly straight, that we'll end up trimming this up. It's probably going to come somewhere like this, but do that after we cut it all out. So here again, we want a seam allowance of about 1/2 inch all the way around those. Now we take a little handy cutting tool. This actually has the 2 inches for the Velcro as well as the 1/2 inch seam allowance built into it already. Then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to kind of follow and then we're just going to kind of guesstimate it. So now here we have an approximate half or quarter panel of the vest, the front side. So bring it back up. I'll have you swing back over here because I'm going to try this on you. Get it situated here. So our top line, this comes right down. You see how the vest is going to come up here. It will fold to about that line, and then you'll have your stitch line here. Top part's going to come out to his neck, and basically with the seam that he has here on his t-shirt is about the same size as the hole that you want for your head, because you have to put your head through the vest. So I come back down and kind of just follow that line around and up. So now I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So there we have the true line. So you want to add, again, about 1/2 inch to the top of that. And then trim. Now, when that lays up, it's going to come across. It will line up. Go ahead and turn sideways for the camera. It'll line up here so that you can have the Velcro from the back side to the front. And all we have to do when we cut this out of fabric is mirror image off the center line, flip it that direction, and we know we have the right amount of seam allowance for everything. So then, a lot of times, I will just look at how this looks on the back. So let me spin around. And then again, use that top line to sit right at the top of his shoulders. You'll notice that on the back he's got a lot more material here. So when we make the back piece based off of this guy, we want to make sure that we're going to add a good 3 inches, so we we'll actually cut this out square like we did initially and bring it back in. But if you look, it's following pretty close to the same line. So we can start with this and have it fold in. So I'm going to just copy this again over here. Up against the flat. That line. And I'm going to make notations up here so that I know where the true line is, so I can add that in after the fact. Now I know on most people, being that your backs don't generally get, like our fronts do, you're going to have less material to worry about back there. So this is why we do this all on paper first.
That's just crazy talk.
So we can trim it down. Okay, and then I've got that notation mark there and there. So I'm going to make that straight line. So I know kind of where to line it up. Let me have you come back over, Adam. Put this up here. I'm going to lay the true seam line up on top, and then kind of trace where the top of his...
Jason from 501st says hi.
Hey, Jason. Is that Moon Moon Jason?
No, not
Oh,
Moon
Jason, the other Jason.
Yeah. The other 15th Jason in the 501st.
Okay. So again, we're here. And we'll have the seam allowance built in there. Coming down on the straight. And if you look, we've got more material over here. We can actually trim in this side a little bit deeper. It helps by the pencil that was actually sharp. Just by holding it there. And having, this is actually wrapping around a little bit more than we actually need, but that's good because that gives you expansion. When we put in the Velcro on this side of the piece, we'll leave extra fabric there in case we need to expand or we can contract, and go from there. Next thing to think about is his belt line changes in the back, whereas before it was down at this line. Now in the back it's much higher. So we follow that around to the front. You can't see the line that I just made, but it's there, and I will show you how we cut it. So it cuts more like that. So it's going to sit around, and it'll wrap, and we can trim all this, and or if he's going to add his comma directly to this, he can do that so long as you cover that seam up with your waist sash and all that jazz. So those are basically the two basic pieces. The next thing I'll do is I'll transfer these over, sew them all up, and get the vest so that it's sitting on his shoulders, so I can see where that shoulder seam is, and then determine the method of shoulder placement. Some people don't even use them. Some people will do just a straight strip coming off that seam right in the middle, so you've got a little flap to hang your armor shoulder bells onto. Some will do the whole bell, and that all I find works out a lot better if you actually have the vest wrapped over, like here's front. So we have that on front. And if this was all cloth and everything, we'd have the back piece there too. And you can see this seam. Then you make your, we just did this for Scott, so on his vest. And I put that piece in there, right along the seam, and figure out where it's going to sit. Trace the line that I have here onto my pattern piece. Make sure I add seam allowance, and then most of the time when I'm doing a shoulder flap, I double side it, fold it inside out, so I've got a nice real clean
Like this
crisp
one.
line, like that one that we just added for Scott here.
Hello.
So that's the basics on the males. We'll do